There it is. It's another Monday, which means it's another time to talk about a Sunday fish show. You don't get many of these throughout the year. What with Fish playing 35 shows a year, you get like 4 or 5 Sunday shows, but it's a really special thing, something we cherish, we look at as a high holiday. I clear my kids out of my schedule every single Sunday in hopes that Fish plays a Sunday fish show. And last night they did. And they played one at Meriwether Post Pavilion. This is the Helping Friendly podcast. My name is Brian Brinkman. I'm here with Megan, RJ, Jonathan. We are going to talk about Fish's Sunday night show at Meriwether Post Pavilion, plus potentially a bit about the Raleigh and Meriwether Night 1 shows and how they fared along with this. We're going to be joined here shortly by two esteemed guests. They've been on before, and we've let them on again, which is saying more about them than us. It's Patrick Hickey and Kevin Hogan. You can find Patrick on Twitter at PTHish2016. I always have to say that 3 times in my head before I say it out loud. And Kevin Hogan can be found on Twitter at Radiator9987, plus through the Wook Plus channels. Before we get to them, though, RJ, you were at the show last night. You were in the pit. I've seen a picture of you soaking wet from what I presume is the rain, although you do dance heavily. So I'm curious if that may have been because of the karate chops. But how are you feeling today? How are you feeling after the weekend?
I feel great. I'm great. I'm tired, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, I don't have much to complain about, but I will say I kept trying to join you guys on Saturday to talk about Raleigh, and I kept dropping out because I drove 7 hours and it was horrendous. And then I went to the show on Saturday. And last night I went and I drove home 2 hours in the rain after, but I slept in my house last night. I didn't sleep in my bed because I didn't want to wake up my wife. So I slept in the guest room, but it was nice to wake up at home. And it's been a long road. But I'm happy. One of the things a couple of things. First of all, my wife, Rachel, who I think all you guys know, she's like, I took my oldest daughter down to Raleigh and then she drove back up with me to Meriwether. But my wife basically had all of our kids for, 4 or 5 days. And I just feel very lucky that I can do this kind of stuff and that I'm still married. And she seems to be in a pretty good mood today, which means I didn't ruin anything permanently, which is it's good news.
Right on.
But also when you get exhausted from these shows, part of the plus side of being exhausted is then you get to I get to have several nights of going to bed early and sleeping well and waking up feeling refreshed. And then by the time the next fish shows come around, I'll be ready to be exhausted again. But I like the process of recovering and feeling better. So that's where I am today. It was a longer answer than you were looking for.
No, it was the appropriate amount of answer that I was looking for, actually. It was both detailed and it kind of went off the rails, but it found its way back. So thank you so much. That is a good podcast answer right there. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm already thinking about the way that I'm going to feel when I get on my flight to fly home after Alpine Valley and have to go straight to my son's first grade orientation and be like, a parent. And none of the parents there are going to know that I went to a 3-day hippie fest in the middle of Wisconsin.
Only
and
the
I'm
cool
going to have
ones.
to be on. Only the cool. There is one cool parent. They've got a Billy String sticker on the back of their car. They've also got my other car is a second set tweezer bumper sticker. We've connected about a few things.
Yeah, you're like, I see you.
I'm going to be like, hey, you know why my eyes are heavy? Why I'm just slowly going through this process. But Megan, Jonathan, we hung out yesterday pre-show. We all, I think, called some songs that were played last night. It was slightly predictable in that manner, but in a really fun way because there was a lot of really good songs that were played. But how are you guys doing coming off of the weekend?
Pretty good. Wish I wasn't working, but such is life. Glad to be here with you guys. The Santos, you could really see that miles away. Shout out to Marty, who's also did the last 3 shows, a good friend of mine, and he's beat. I hear you.
This is a good point from Ben. Always take at least a day off after a 3 or 4 show run. I'm too old to go back to life right away.
So true.
This is such a good point. It's also the type of thing that you're like, you think about it in advance and you're like, well, I've got that thing that day after that I have to be there for. Maybe if Fish is still playing when I'm retired and my kids are out of the house, I'll be able to do that.
That's kind of the life I'm living right now because my kids are at sleepaway camp and I'm off because I'm a teacher. So I've got the house to myself. It's just me and my dog. We're like recovering. I'm sleeping in, waking up when I want. Not trying to rub this in, but it's kind of nice. I got to tell you. You know, my biggest responsibility is just listening to the show, being on the pod. That's all I got to do all day. It's good stuff.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And also, really nice. Megan, great job driving the train yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
You did an amazing job. You are putting a real strong, I think that we should be hiring more teachers on the basis that you will be able to experience summer tour in its fullest, plus send your kids to sleepaway camp if you become a teacher. So
yeah, and send your kids to sleepaway camp like the second half of the summer, because that's usually when Fish does like a lot of its heavy touring. So this has just been amazing. And like you, RJ, I'm somehow managing to stay married. So I must be walking the line right. The credit card bill hasn't come through yet, so we'll see about that. But, for now, it's okay.
We will talk about our Fish financial planning on our next podcast that comes up at 3:00.
It's not.
It's called Fish Money Talks. But before we do that, we do have to tell you all, we're all at that point in summer tour, whether or not we've been on tour, whether or not we're about to go on tour, where we are thinking about energy and being exhausted. They have not played Energy yet, so I'm not giving a hint there. But we are thinking a lot about some of our favorite people in the world who are also happen to be the sponsor for this show, which is Passion House Coffee. Here at Osiris, we are powered by a few things. Music, you all know this. We're about to talk about music a lot, but also coffee. And we're drinking Passion House constantly. I am currently drinking in this mug some Passion House Ocean of Osiris. What is Ocean of Osiris? Well, it is our own blend with Passion House. They made a blend of coffee for us. It's amazing. Please visit Passion House Coffee to get some of this and some of their other coffee today. And I can tell you from personal experience, all their coffee is incredible. Use the code OSIRIS, OSIRIS, for free shipping on every order. In addition to free shipping that comes with Passion House when you use the code OSIRIS, we also have a contest that is running with Passion House all summer tour. For every Fish show, we will be giving away bags of Ocean of Osiris coffee every time Fish plays an ocean song. Every time you hear an ocean song, tag at HFPod, as well as at Passion House Coffee. If you're watching the show, it's right on the screen there. You guys got it. Tag us on Twitter. Use the code #Ocean of Osiris. We will be giving away we'll be picking 2 winners at random each show. So you enter each show, you have a chance to win free coffee. We have 2 winners here today. We are very, very excited to announce Mr. Bruce Warren, who can be found on Twitter at Brucey Warrens, which I really appreciate when people use their full names in that manner on Twitter. They kind of have a nickname that goes along with it. Congratulations, Bruce Warren, as well as Chris, who's on Twitter at Toph1021. We will be in touch with you guys to make sure that we get you your Passion House Ocean of Osiris coffee. Amazing stuff, but enter throughout the whole summer. It's a fun thing.
Can I just say something just about Bruce real quick?
Please.
Bruce is part of this, this cult that we're part of, this Fish cult. I'm part of another cult, which is a Fish fan Peloton cult, and he's also a member of this. So I've gotten to talk with him about that cult. So you can keep going levels deeper with this cult. I just want to tell you guys that. And Bruce, I hope you like the coffee.
At some point, you'll go clear, and everything will make sense. But the cult just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. Fish
all the way
Peloton.
down.
Yeah.
So very, very excited for Bruce and Chris there. We also want to tell you about a few upcoming live events that we have. We have a lot happening here in the next 3 or 4 weeks here at Osiris. First and foremost, Fish is coming to Atlantic City this weekend. Oh my God. You can get your fish tickets at osirispod.com/AC. Go ahead and get those tickets if you haven't already. We are also giving away tickets. We will be giving tickets away tomorrow. I know it says on the screen here today, but tomorrow on the live show, which is kind of the brethren show of HFPod, where we talk about live music, we will be giving away 3-day passes for Fish in AC. You can RSVP to those events by I'm going to tell you about our live events here at the Anchor Rock Club here in a second. But if you RSVP to our free events with a screenshot, and that you can find the link there at osirispod.com/OsirisLive. We'll be announcing winners tomorrow. And with that in mind, we have 2 events coming up this weekend at the Anchor Rock Club, 2 to 4 p.m. both days. Saturday, August 6th, we'll be doing an HF Pod recap of night 1. RJ, Megan, you see them on the screen. You want to see them in person. I promise that you do. I've never met Megan in person, but I've got to imagine like everything that she emanates on screen is that much better in person. RJ is one of the best people to see a fish show with, or to see before a fish show, or
I
like
can
just in
confirm that.
passing. Just a lot of energy, hugs,
Thank you,
karate
guys.
chops, big kicks. He always hands you a free beer. He's just awesome. Free beer.
Excellent dancer too. I feel like you're playing his dancing down a little bit, Brian.
Gonna say you're about to cost RJ
How do you
a
put
lot of
magic?
beers.
I was going to say an asterisk. Not all hugs come with beer. How do you put his dancing into words? It's just magic.
Come
You
on.
should have brought a poet.
It's pure
But
energy.
John Barber will also be at that show. He will be playing an acoustic set. Should be amazing. And then on August 7th, we will be doing another event at the Anchor Rock Club, 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be discussing Fish, what's happening on this tour, what's happening on the band in full, with special guests, along with auctioning off Fish vinyl, posters, shirts, and other hard-to-find memorabilia. This event is sponsored by Tonewood Brewing. You can get your tickets for this at osirispod.com/OsirisLive. RJ, is there anything else you want to say about AC?
No, I mean, it's going to be really fun. Megan and I are going to interview my friend John, who plays guitar for the Disco Biscuits. He's just written a ton of new songs. They played a bunch this summer, and it'll be fun. He's a great, really smart guy, really fun to listen to. And we're also going to do a little recap of the Friday night show. So it's going to be fun. Megan and I are going to be steering the ship, and hopefully we don't run it aground, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no shipwreck. It's going to be really fun.
Come and find out. Come and find
That's
out.
in my pick 5, though.
I got to tell you guys, just real quick, we're giving away these tickets, and it's so fun to give away tickets to people. You know, I'm like sending tickets to all these people, and everyone's just like, it's great. So everyone get in on the contest.
Get in on the fun. Before we bring on our esteemed guests who are hanging out backstage, just like waiting with bated breath to give us their opinions about last night's version of Taste, I think that's what Patrick, the only thing he wanted to talk about. We want to tell you about 2 additional events we have coming up. The Cooperage, Thursday, August 11th, just like 10 days from now, we will be hanging out, RJ and I. You see us in the top and bottom right of the screen here. We'll be talking with Riley Walker. He will be playing a live show. It's all the night before Fish plays Alpine Valley, 3-night run in Alpine Valley. Come out, hang out for a loose, chill night 0 with us in Milwaukee. The Cooperage also runs shuttles between their bar and Alpine Valley. So if you need like a place to figure out, how do I get a ride to and from Alpine? It's way out in the farmland. I don't want to drive out there. This is a great place to kind of get settled, grab some good beers, listen to some great music, really good conversation that we're going to have with Riley. You can get your tickets for that at osirispod.com/Milwaukee. And then finally, the summer will end with Taper's Choice at the Larimer Lounge on August 31st. Jonathan and I, every one of us on the screen is doing some sort of a live event here this summer. It's amazing. Jonathan and I will be interviewing the dudes from Taper's Choice. We heard on Friday that Mr. Barack Obama is super into Taper's Choice. And if he's into Taper's Choice, you got to be into Taper's Choice. Get your tickets at osirispod.com/Denver. Anything else that we need to say here? Should we bring on our esteemed guests, or should we just make them wait? I'm going to bring them on. You guys might want to wake and wait. I'm going to bring them on. Patrick, Kevin, welcome to the podcast, guys. How you doing?
Great. Fantastic.
Awesome. We are really excited to have you guys on here. I guess like the best way to start, Patrick, what shows have you seen thus far this spring, this summer? How are you feeling about everything with the tour thus far?
I feel great. I'm also very tired, putting myself back together. I took an Epsom salt bath this morning. I decided to do that, not live on the pod, but before the pod.
Even after we advertised that was happening on the pod, it's okay. We'll talk about that offline.
I'll go delete those tweets.
So I'm going to Florida tomorrow. So I'm also going to spend hours in the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow and try to put myself back together. But so I did Bethel last weekend and then MPP this weekend. And Bethel was like I have friends who, are friends forever. One guy I've known since I was 5, the other guy since like 14 probably. So we've done a guys camping trip with Fish every summer since 2009. And so I did that with them. And so that was like, we stayed on the Delaware River. My days consisted of taking a tube, walking half a mile that way with a beer, obviously, putting it in the river, floating down for about half an hour, doing it again for about 10 times or so. So that was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And there was no cell phone service, which was actually great. And it actually helped me when I came back. Like the day I came back, I was playing with my kids in the backyard, and like everything was sort of going wrong. It's like I was looking at my phone half the time. Like everything went right this weekend because I wasn't looking at my phone half the time and like dividing my attention in this way. So then the next night I put my phone away and we had a lovely soccer game for 45 minutes in the backyard here. And so it was good. That was like a really good trip in like the really, like no responsibilities for 72 hours type of trip. And this time kids from when they woke up till 2:30 every day and then drove to the concert and then drove home. So there were two very
different
things. Yes. So it was great. Very different vibes, but wonderful things to do, right? It's pretty fun to take your kids on a Girl Scouts hike in the morning and then like go to the Fish concert at night. So it was a nice balance, a very, very good experience all around for, I have no complaints, right? So that's probably it until next summer for me.
Awesome. Kevin, how about you? Were these your first shows of the overall summer tour? Had you seen anything this year thus far?
I went to the Man. I was at both.
You went to the Man. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yes.
How's your summer experience been?
Oh, I got a lot of repeats. I feel like. I don't know. Maybe it's in my head from the two, but I think they were all worth it repeats. So I can go with that any day of the week, and then I'm going to go out to Dick's.
Beautiful.
And I will see you at Taper's Choice.
You will see us at Taper's Choice. Really excited about that. And we'll talk about that from a repeat standpoint because it's very different from what we heard in a lot of cases in the spring tour. Let's set the table here. We have our first segment of the show is the vibe of the show, which is sponsored by our good friends at Section 119. Which we want to tell you is the premier apparel brand where many fans shop to represent their favorite band in everyday life. With sophisticated designs, epic quality, Section 119 offers donut-inspired button-down shirts, board shorts, dry-fit polos, and hoodies, among many more awesome clothing types. You can use the code on your screen, or if you're listening, Summer22 for a 20% discount on your next purchase. You are absolutely going to love your new gear. RJ, you saw Raleigh, Meriwether Post 1 and Meriwether Post 2. We saw a lot about weather reports in the hours leading up to these shows. It was supposed to be rainy. Tell me what the vibe was like as you were walking into the Sunday night show.
Well, two things. One, I have to tell you, if you guys haven't seen Jake from Section 119, I saw him probably 100 times over the past 3 days. He's kind of everywhere. He's awesome. He's part of the Baklava crew as well as the Section 119 crew. And he has long hair and a beard.
Baklava is good stuff.
Yeah. One of the only guys at Fish shows who has long hair and a beard, so you'll probably recognize him if you see him. But
oh, cool.
Section 119, it's so cool to have them as part of this, this broader team because they're just all great. But I had to drive from across the Bay Bridge, the Eastern Shore to the show, and on the way there, my lighter thing in my car stopped working, so I couldn't charge my phone. And luckily, my good friend Patrick Hickey the vibe of the show was that I met up with Patrick. He immediately handed me a portable charger and a beer, and his friend, who's one of the vendors. They've been on Undermine. They had a tent, so I got shelter, a beer, and a phone charger immediately when I saw Patrick, and that really set the vibe for the show for me.
Nice.
It was great. It was kind of sparse, because it was rainy, but I think we had an okay time, Patrick, out there.
Yeah, it worked. That worked out perfectly. I'm glad it all worked out. It's funny. I was thinking this at the end of the show. Like, I really care more about like finding you and like giving you a phone charger and a beer than like what songs Fish plays. Like, I don't care. Like, it's more important for me to like find you and hang out with you and then my other friend. So that was great. Yeah, and it was fortuitous. We didn't plan it, but it started raining right as we were at my friend's tent. So we had we were under the tent. And they gave me a gem for each child. So my children were very, very excited. That was priority number one yesterday, was going to see my friends and also getting trinkets for my children. So they're like, oh, like I told my daughter, I was like, I'll get you a gem from my friend. I promise. Like, I'll bring a gem back from the fish show. Sunday morning, she woke up and the first thing she said was like, do you have my gem? And I was like, no, it's like, I gotta get you a gem. This morning, actually, she told me it was 7:45, so she was waking me up. It was actually 6:45, but that was also the first thing she asked this morning if I had the gem. So she got her gem, and that worked out really well. And then as soon as RJ left, I not randomly, but a very, very good friend of mine who I met the same time I met RJ in the DC area in 2003, but they don't know each other because I met him like 1 month, and 3 months later became good friends with RJ. But he parked right in the parking garage where we were. So I went in and said hello to him. And we literally turned the corner and ran into good friends of mine from when I lived in West Virginia, and realized that the friend from West Virginia had given the friend who I met in DC and is now in Colorado, had sold Dick's 3-day pass to him last year. So somehow I got a text from one guy that was like, hey, I have an extra Dick's 3-day pass if you know anyone. And then a text from another guy was like, hey, you're coming to Dick's? I need tickets. And I was like, oh, I can make this happen.
So match made in heaven right there.
And so that was sort of what my day was like. It was just very, very nice hanging out with friends. I love Sunday at MPP, and I love it for that reason. I tried to get there around 4. So we got there a little later the night before, but I tried to get there to just be able to relax and calm down. So it was nice. It was fun. The rain definitely also chilled it out a little bit too, because it was very rainy.
The vibe of when you just surrender to the flow like both of you did and just allow the things to happen. Megan talked about this after our Raleigh recap because she was on a party bus. It was going this way and that way and going backwards to pick people up, and people who were like, oh, well, yeah, we'll get to the show at some point. And you're looking at your watch like, it's going to start. I know it's going to start. She just surrendered, got in, got her beer, and got an amazing show. Kev, what was it like for you going to this show?
We had 6 cars all in line, 20 minutes. We were there, get to the parking lot too. They let the first car in that I was in because it's a microbus, and everybody else had to park somewhere else. But then we got to put up the pop-up tent. Everybody came by. We had the WOOC Plus flag flying, and I met 20, 30 people who I've interacted with on Twitter but have never met in person. So
cool.
Great. And then in the show, we had, I guess, 10 of us. 2 people went in early, 3 blankets down, right on the lawn where the path is in the middle. Great sight lines. All my friends. You can't go wrong with it. I didn't care about the rain. Whatever. You'll dry off eventually.
Yeah, it's better that than hot, right? Like the other option, like I live here, it's going to be hot or it's going to be rainy at this time of year. So.
There's 2 places for this to go. Yeah, totally. As Russ Tab said, the rain was kind of fun yesterday. It looked like everybody was in really good spirits. Like a midsummer storm in Maryland is not going to like freeze you. It's just, you're just going to be wet and you're going to be a little bit muggy, but it's something about that part of the year or that part of the country.
We were praying for that rain on Friday night and didn't get near enough.
Yeah.
Of it, honestly.
Yeah, you guys were, I remember you saying you guys were 100 feet one way, 100 feet the other. You would have been soaked. But let's talk about the first set of this show. So go ahead, Patrick.
All right. I would, in the vibe section, I wanted to make
Please.
a service announcement today. I tweeted about this. Some people are going to need to sit down for this. I want to say something to the entire fish community. You are not
Ooh.
in the fucking universe. There's going to be 20,000 other people at the fish concert. They're going to exist whether you like it or not. And you have a choice of you could be nice to them or you could be a turbo douche to them. I would go with nice, right? So I had this guy next to me. I had like the 6 bros and 2 seats situation. Like, we can work this out. It's fine. But like, I paid $100 for this ticket. I'm in the 18th row, dead center. I'm going to be here, man. Like, this is what I came here for, right? Like, I walked my kids to the Girl Scout hike in the morning and then came here, had a phone charger for RJ, right? It was just like so ridiculous, right? I was like, could you guys please move over? And the guy did. Then he comes in hot at the beginning of the second set. It's like, dude, 18, that's our seats. That's the boundary. And I'm like, oh, cool, dude. Yeah, 18, you know, nice and smiley. Pull my phone out of my pocket, pull up my ticket, 18, tap the guy on his shoulder, smile at him and say, that's my seat. Just like my space. Like, seat 18 is my seat. Like, I don't know why he picked 18 or whatever, but it's just like, come on, man, we don't need to do this. Like, I'm going to be here. You're going to be there. And we could be friends or enemies, right? And like, why did you pick enemy? Like, we could have been friends or we could have been enemies. And you decided to pick enemy. Why? So if you're one of those type of people, I'm sorry, other people exist. 4 seats do not magically appear in the pavilion when your 4 bros come down for your, you know, your 2 tickets. And like, I'm not going to the back of the lawn because Sammy's here, right? Like, I'm sure Sammy's a great guy, but like, I came here to watch this fish concert. Just,
I think the rule applies here that like we've all, and I'm going to assume this out the gates, we've all invited friends without pavilion tickets into the pavilion. As Megan goes, no,
We're invited ourselves.
We're invited ourselves. I think the rule applies that if you find a row where there's nobody in it or there's limited seats, you're totally cool to do that. If you sneak a bunch of people in and you're like, it's on you now to like shrink and figure out how you hang. So
you got to find a way to fit, or you got to bounce like the people whose seat that is. You know,
this is a very good
somewhere.
This is a very good PSA as Fish is about to play on a beach with no seats. But I appreciate no. I'm right there with you. Thank you so much.
My fat ass is going to be in C18. Armrest. You figure the rest of it out and like either be nice or don't. But like, thankfully, you know, he was put in his place or whatever, and it was fine. But then, you know, you do this for 5 minutes to try to fuck with someone, and I gotta like, you know, it's just be nice to people. It's not that.
Are you implying that they played Contact?
35.
I didn't see that in the set list.
So let's jump into this. That's a very important PSA.
Sorry, I had to do it.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate that. So set 1, let's dive into this, and we're going to dive into this from a highlight standpoint so that we can all kind of share, because I think that there were multiple highlights in this first set. This was very different to me from like the Raleigh set, where it was like, if you found something aside from the Rise Come Together, it was like, wow, like you were listening with different ears than 99% of people. This had like highlights scattered in such a cool way. A Wave of Hope, Dog Stole Things, AC/DC Bag, into Sparkle, into Back on the Train, Mull and Foam, into Ghost. RJ, you were, I don't know, 27 feet away from Mike Gordon's electric pants. Tell me, what was the highlight of set 1 for you?
I texted you guys last night that John Fishman was playing drums in my face so loudly. I thought it was incredibly rude of him.
Aggressively.
It's like, why are you playing those drums so fast and loud?
You asked him to quiet it down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, like I don't go down to the pit very much, and it's very stressful. It's similar to what you're saying, Patrick, except, you know, it's like you go down there and then you're like, you sit down, you try to like stretch out your legs, and then like a couple of random people show up and stand over your legs, and then like eventually once it starts, it's cool. And we had a group of like 20 people, and everyone was having a blast. So that was really great. Yeah, the Wave of Hope, you know, that just like taking this new song and really pushing it hard as an opener, I think is just like a really amazing move. And I thought the jam was great. And yeah, that started it all off for me. There's a lot of highlights, like you said, kind of scattered throughout, but that was the most notable moment for me.
It's really amazing. I talked about this actually on Kevin's show last night on the Afterfish after show. I was like, I think this might be controversial for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel like a wave of hope has entered the like Down with Disease, Mike Song, Blaze On, Everything's Right territory. Name Light from early 3.0, where they
Definitely.
just know how to jam this song. And like, it just, there doesn't sound like there's any effort when they play this song now. It's just, here's the song. And then
They're
immediately
feeling
they
it.
find a way out of it. They're totally feeling it. Do you guys agree with that? Like, do you hear that when this song starts now? It just is like, all right, we're getting like a big jam out of this.
Yeah, there's a sense of authority when they come out, and it's a great opener, like you were saying, RJ. And it just, they sound, effortless, and it's triumphant. It has, I don't care what people say. These lyrics are actually really good. If you don't like hope, people, like, come on, like it's hopeful, it's joyful, it leads to a great jam. I think as an opener, it's just perfect. It sounded really strong last night. I mean, the whole show did, but it was a great way to kick it off.
I agree with that completely.
I think the lyric is a complete breakthrough for Trey, writing his solo lyrics, because if you look at everything but the chorus, it doesn't rhyme. It reads like a modernist poem like Stevens or Eliot or someone, where the word sound is as important as what the words are saying. And I think he just nails it in the performance. It's next level for all of the soul songs, and Everything's Right.
It's a really
Agreed.
good point. And I will admit, I did not love these lyrics when I first heard this song. It sounded very obvious to me. And since the song has grown in stature and since I've heard it a lot more, I've thought a lot more about the lyrics. I think you're right. He's speaking from like a real place of kind of vulnerability, but also strength at the same time. And he seems like whenever the song was written, he was writing from a place. It sounds to me like strength and like conviction, and you hear that, and you hear that in conjunction with this kind of riff that goes behind it that almost sounds like an indie punk riff, and like you can see his head just like kind of bob back and forth, like he's like leading like a band with like thin ties, just like playing
He
like a great,
loves
it's
it.
almost
He
like a Kink
loves
song
it.
or something.
There's strength in
Anyone
that
else like it?
vulnerability.
Go ahead.
I said there's strength in that vulnerability. I mean, he can draw from that place and stand up, and with the writing and the words, and then jam the shit out of it too. I'm all in. Give it to me any night.
Yes.
All in. RJ, was that, I'm guessing that was your highlight of the set, or was that kind of your, like, were there other moments for you?
Yeah, I was just looking at the set list. I mean, I think hearing Maul like jammed out a little bit, and in a not just taking the song structure. I mean, they only take like 3 or 4 minutes to get into a totally different space. Like they're kind of outside of the song structure within a few minutes on Maul, and AC/DC Bag too. It had like a nice jam. I was talking to the guy behind me, and I was like, "This is giving me Dayton '97 vibes." Like not as funky, like, but like it just was like a driving jam, like right away. It's
I
just
was
cool how
thinking
fast they
Hampton
moved into that.
97.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's probably more appropriate actually, because that kind of went out there. And then the Ghost had this like almost like a gin. The set ending bathtub gin is like one of the best things that happens after at a fish show, and this was sort of like that kind of jam to me. It was really, really great. So I guess I had a lot of highlights.
I think it's one of those sets where you have a lot of highlights. I was thinking about this, like, Patrick, you talked about how you thought more about like your friends before the show versus like any songs that Fish would play. And like, this is one of those sets where like not in a million years would I ever write down the set list and like in like a dream scenario and be like, that's going to be a killer set. And sometimes those are my favorite sets because you have no idea, like, they shouldn't fit together, but they all fit together in this really unique way, partially because of jamming, because of exploration, partially just like the vibe of everything. Patrick, sticking with you, what was your overall highlight of set one?
So both nights I liked the end of the first set a whole lot. So that was my highlights both nights, was the end of the first set. In the Ghost, so I said to my friend, like, it was a good Ghost, right? Like, I feel like they play Ghost more frequently now. But like Bethel, I think they ended this set with Ghost 2, and
Yeah,
I don't think it was as good, right? I thought the one last night was a lot better. I love A Wave of Hope. So I was at fake New Year's Eve. I caught COVID with everybody else, because I really wanted to get COVID.
It's part of the tickets.
What's that?
It came with the tickets.
Yeah,
I sure did.
I think it was $100, but the COVID was free.
Worth it.
But I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, worth it.
Yes. And so, I really, that song really struck me in that moment too. I mean, obviously with all the lights and everything that they did at Earth Day, I guess. So I really liked it as an opener. And I think in general, right, the set lists are so different. I'm sure it's an intentional choice, first tube and stand openers and all that. But yeah, it's cohesive somehow, right? I think that's something that Fish should get credit for. I'm not trying to do Fish versus Grateful Dead, and I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm not going to try to trigger Jonathan here by saying this, but I feel like the Grateful Dead were a little bit more paint by numbers in that, like, the playing in the band was going to be here, drums in space, obviously, like this was going to be here. And I think Fish, shuffles it up a little bit more. So I thought that was great. And yeah, the end of the set, I'm just looking here. The Mall, I think, was actually probably my highlight. In Foam, the Flub Spotters were disappointed, as RJ said. I thought they did really, really well, which is always a treat. I saw that at my first Fish show in 1995. And it's one of those ones where if they play it properly, like only Fish can play a song like that, right? And at least from my perspective. So yeah, I thought it was a fantastic set overall.
Yeah, you had like song selections like Foam that kind of take you out of like your place of just being in a show, because it's obviously a rarity for a lot of people to get it. And when they play a song like that, it just like perks your ears up, and you obviously want to hear a clean take on a song like that because it is so complex. And they sounded like they nailed it. They've played it 3 times now in the last year, which isn't like any more or less, but it's in this rotation of songs that have been played. There's been so many rarities that have just kind of appeared and then they're gone. Yeah, they sound like they're definitely rehearsing it, which is cool. Kev, how about you? What was your big highlight for the set?
I love them all. I really love that. The AC/DC, like I said, it definitely had the 97 vibe, RJ. The Ghost is... I want to love that so much, them going back and closing the Ghost and it being a sec, because it was MSG, Bethel, and then last night. So it's becoming more and more of this. I feel like I'm losing something, but you can't go wrong with it as a closer. It leaves you wanting more. It's a perfect closer because you walk away wanting more. It isn't, doesn't leave you on. So that's what
it's such an interesting evolution for that song, because that song obviously appears in summer 1997. It's this new great big jam vehicle. It turns a little bit more of a rock vehicle in 3.0 and is now like a fairly expected set closer, and they work it really well, and they're exploring new ground while still peaking it in the way that they did a lot of Ghosts throughout 3.0. I thought Last Night was a really interesting take on kind of the approach to the same destination that we get with a lot of those first set Ghosts, where like it's going to peak, you kind of have a bright key, it's going to feel really heroic, and then they're going to walk off the stage. But there was a cool new path that led to there. Megan, Jonathan, you both were listening from home and listening back this morning. What stood out for you guys from set 1?
I think overall the flow was really great. I think Dog Stole Things in the number 2 slots like reminds me always of 7/21/97, and to me it just says like, we're not in a rush tonight. Like, we know exactly what we're going to do tonight, and it's going to be great. I don't know, there's just a vibe that song gives off to me. Jammed Out Bag, and I never thought I would say that a Mike's song, and not like the Mike song, but a song that might be my highlight. But I'm not usually super into Mike's songs, but Mull it's such a good song, and I love what they're doing with it. This one is just, Mike's using some like pedal effect. It's got this like 70s, like sexy funk vibe. Just like, there was really great listening and interplay between them during this jam. And I love how it ended all spacey. And I thought it was great. That was my highlight. And I thought the Ghost too, just tremendous rock and roll peaks. Really great set.
Yeah, the fade from Mull into Foam was such like an expert move. But
cool.
Yeah, you talk about like it's Mike's songs don't. I think we're on the same page. Mike's songs, they don't always do it for me. I've always said they sound like 7 or 8 songs like smashed together. And, hey, we have a new song. Mull though, it seems like just connected with the fan base immediately. There was a great version at the Gorge last year. There was a great version at Deer Creek earlier this in the spring tour. This version obviously took it to another level. It seems like Trey is really comfortable playing this song, which speaks volumes. You know, there was Sugar Shack throughout 3.0 where, you know, everyone was counting the beats and counting the notes. Did he nail the solo right? Okay, no. Okay, well, we'll try again next time. You know, Yarmouth Road comes and goes. Casual Engagement kind of comes and goes. Like Mole seems
What
to be
happened to
the song that's
Victim?
like really.
They busted out Victim once in
Victim
19.
was played once. 555 kind of was always there, but never totally caught. I don't know. That's Mole just seems to like really have the vibe.
And I will stand up and fight for that song.
It's
and
okay.
They should jam it. No, it's a good song.
Jamming
it's
it,
a good
then everybody would like
song. Yeah, they should jam it.
There was a good
it's
jam
a
on
great
the
groove. It's like Fish's West LA Fadeaway, only fast.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
the Dead never
totally.
played it.
That's like a perfect comparison.
There's a great jam off of it on 10/28/21, the numbers show. But Jonathan, what was your big moment?
Bag. I'm all about that AC/DC bag. I think it leans more 99 than 97 because it didn't put me to sleep at all. It's a wild, upbeat, major key dance party and a good fucking time. Love that AC/DC bag.
As Restab said, the bag jam was so
Love the
awesome.
hot
Just about
take.
the same length. Yeah, right. I love how you get a dig in for 97 there, thinking we're not going to notice it. It didn't feel like it was cut short like the Philly version. You know, I've seen some slack towards the Philly version. I liked that version. Maybe I was just super excited by the fact that they're exploring AC/DC bag again, but last night felt like a freeing. It felt like a version that could go 18, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to, but like it felt like they had.
They were getting their
creative
sea
juices flowing.
legs in Philly. Yeah. They were getting their sea legs with it in Philly.
I mean, it's been one of the most reliable openers, right, of all time, and like
ever.
So to see it come back and like kind of start to make its way back with, I mean, they went outside of the structure, you know, like much more quickly than the Philly version, I think, and it's cool to see that it's back for sure.
Yeah, I was in the middle of serving my family dinner at that point in time, which involved getting the dogs away from the steak and getting my daughter's steak cut up as small as possible so that an 18-month-old could get it. My son almost lost a tooth by biting into a corn on the cob. So I was like hearing this music and I was like, can you all just like take it down a couple notches so I can focus on an AC/DC bag type 2 jam? And they were like, no, we can't. And I was like, okay, I'll have to listen back later. And when I listened back, I was like, that was as brilliant as I thought it was. Yeah, they were like, I want food right now. Anyone else have any final thoughts about set one? Personally, bag was my highlight, and I thought that this was the strongest, if not one of two strongest set ones of the overall summer tour. I loved it so much.
I wanted to chime in about the Mike song. So I do agree with Jonathan. 555 is like a nice groove. It's acceptable, right? But like Sugar Shack, like when people were doing the whole like, oh, is Trey gonna play Sugar Shack thing, right? Like if Trey plays Sugar Shack perfectly, or if they all fart into the microphones for 5 minutes, it's about the same, right? Just like 5 minutes of time, that it's fine. Like it's gonna be fine. There's another 2 hours and 55 minutes of music, right? Like it's just like it's fine. It's not bad, right? There's good songs and bad songs during Fish concerts, high moments and low moments. But Mall, it's really fit in well. So I think it's I don't know what Mike did, but it does seem like a step up. I agree with Kevin. The Victim was a good tune too. Yarmouth Road, no. But I mean, Mike
tries to write songs outside. Mike tries to write songs outside of his voice range sometimes. He doesn't in the right key.
But he's trying, and maybe it's a breakthrough, just like with Wave of Hope, as you said, Kevin. I hadn't thought about that, about the lyrical structure with Wave of Hope, but that's a really good point. So
yeah,
there's more like Mo coming for Mike, because I know he's going to keep trying.
I always thought Sugar Shack had a potential that it just has never reached on the Fish stage, and Trey being able to play it right is part of that, but that's not the only thing. It's a complicated song with all these parts moving kind of against each other, and if it worked right, I think it would be pretty cool and somewhat psychedelic. But I think you got to go to a Mike Gordon band show for that.
Yeah, I would rather they practice foam than Sugar Shack. That's my.
I'm with you.
That's all I do.
I think it's a fair point as well about like, a lot of these songs that they bring to the table. There's a lot of tab songs that you just don't hear at Fish shows because they just don't totally work. It's amazing that a song like Mr. Completely works within the context of Fish without the horns, without like that driving Russ Lawton drum beat. It might seem Mike Band like you hear those songs in their most pristine and most exploratory way. I will just point listeners to the 12:30:16 version of Sugar Shack, which Trey nails the solo, and the crowd gave him like golf claps at the end of it because people were like, okay, Proudy, thank you very much. Thanks for playing that. All right, let's jump into our. You did it. Let's jump into our set break segment, which is brought to us by our wonderful friends at Sunset Lake CBD. Megan, you always do such a good job telling us about Sunset Lake CBD. Would you mind telling the people about our good friends at Sunset Lake?
Leading with charm. I like it, Brian. Sunset Lake CBD's line of smokable hemp products are for the old deadhead or the young fish fan, anybody searching for a mellow body high. Smoking CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis, but without the paranoid and anxious side effects. They've got 9 different strains this year's harvest, so there's something for everyone. Hawaiian Haze is awesome for an outdoor show, and Cherry Abacus is the best for the end of the night. All the flower is grown, cured, and trimmed by Sunset Lake CBD farmers. And even better, their farm-to-table approach gets you really great pricing because they're shipping their product directly from their farm to your door. I would highly recommend. This is like the perfect thing to recover. We've been talking about recovery after fish shows. This is the way to do it because you get home and you want to just chill out and start to feel better. Back in the old days, you'd smoke a bunch of THC cannabis and like feel better for sure, but also be like super high and not be able to like function with your family. So now you can just smoke CBD, Sunset Lake CBD, in fact, and feel great and get that like mellow body relaxation that you need after going hard on fish tour. So that's what I've been doing. You should too. Check them out, sunsetlakecbd.com, and use the coupon code HFPod, and you're going to get 20% off all your products. That's Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned and Vermont grown.
And with that, we ask our 3 attendees from the show last night. RJ, starting with you. You're in the pit. You have to make the decision. Am I going to go and take care of everything I need to take care of? Chicken fingers, beer, relieving oneself, or am I just going to hang out in the pit and, just deal with it for the remainder of the show? How was your set break last night?
It was great. Actually, the crowd kind of like thinned out quite a bit during set break, so I just hung out. I was not drinking beer last night because I had to drive, so I skipped that part. But I did. One of my friends gave me a wristband to that special bathroom, which was like, it was all the way. We were like Mike's side, up close, and I had to come out of the pit, go all the way around the pavilion, and then go up a flight of stairs. But it was still easier than waiting in line for the bathroom because it was like empty. And so I did that, a few times. I did it at the end of set break, and it was Dan. Thank you, Dan. That was really great. But it was great. Yeah, the pit, the vibes were great down there. I mean, it is a little bit intimidating to go down into the pit and like spend an hour before, like I was saying earlier. But it was very, very cool. Also, my friend. Just a quick side story. My friend Jason, who I've known since we were like 2 years old, he called me last week. He's like, I'm coming to Merriweather. I bought some tickets off Cash or Trade. Can you go to downtown Philly and meet this guy because he wants to meet in person? So I stopped there on my way out of town to go to Raleigh and like pulled up outside the Phillies baseball stadium, and this guy came out and gave me the tickets. And then it turned out that Jason didn't need that ticket. So I posted on Twitter yesterday, and one of our listeners tagged a friend who sent me a DM and said like he's had like really bad 4 months. Like he lost a child. He's had like just like a lot of really bad stuff happen to him, and he's been trying to like get the energy to go to a show again. And he was going to go to Bethel and couldn't make it, and etc. And so I got him a ticket in the pit, and he ended up on the rail, and he was texting me, and he just like, so he had a great time, and it was like much needed for him. And sometimes like all the work we do to get tickets and sell tickets, and then you trade tickets, and like it all works out. and everyone typically has a good time except for the seed 18 guy. But it all otherwise was great. So thanks. I just wanted to share that real quick.
Seed 18 guy, if you want to come on and defend yourself in any sort of way, I'm sure that you are a nice guy outside of seed 18.
Oh,
I'm sure.
No.
No.
Let's do like crossfire. Brian can moderate between Patrick and that guy.
It was funny because after the show ended, right, we were letting the crowd, go, and my friends were coming up from the pit. And so, they had just gotten up and we're talking, letting everything settle. And the guy walks to go out. I'm like, oh, have a great night, man. I'm just like, even if he's like, I'm just gonna be nice. And apparently he must have looked like someone killed his dog or something like that. Because he leaves and my friends start laughing. They're like, what's up with that guy? Anyways, poor guy.
It happens. It happens. I can
share
my.
It's like so easy to just not be an asshole.
I'll share my Phoenix experience in the roundtable edition of HFPod that will be going on at 5:00, where we share the troubling experiences that happened to us at concerts. I can also share my Game 5 of the 2017 NLDS experience, where I was called some vile names, and then the Cubs beat the Nationals, and I turned around, shook the guy's hand, and I said, "Have a good one," and he started crying. Patrick, Kevin.
This is a trick that RJ actually taught me. Anytime when someone's pissed off at you, just be as nice to them as possible.
They're gonna hate you. They're gonna hate you.
You have no anger in you, and like it pisses them off more, right? If we're like actually doing analysis thing here, so that's always the move.
This is what RJ tries to do every time we get into an argument about fish. He's super nice. I'm like, fine, you're right. Patrick, aside from seat 18, how was your set break experience overall?
So I just I ended up in seat 18 through what RJ's talking about, right? Like the ticket wheelings and dealings. I won't bore anyone with the stories, but I ended up next to a lovely friend of mine from when I spent time in West Virginia. And I hadn't seen her since before COVID. And I actually had an extra ticket and posted to Facebook like, hey, does anybody want to hang out with me on Sunday? And she was like, well, I have an extra ticket too, like in the dead center, 15th row. And I was like, let's go to your tickets. I'll sell these tickets. And so that all worked out really well. So we just caught up the whole set break, which was, again, made this thing even funnier because I was sitting my ass in seat 18 for the entire set break talking to my friend. And then like dude comes back from getting his beers or doing his Coke or whatever he had to do as the center of his universe. And then it's like, get out of seat 18. Like, what are you doing? Just relax.
Catching up at set break is always a good thing.
Yeah, it was nice. It was good. She's it was really nice to catch up with old friends. So that was a nice set break. And that's what I've done for Bethel too. Like, I usually just stay there at set break because everything else is so chaotic. And so if I have someone nice to chat with or something like that. So it's very chill, very nice set break.
That's awesome. Kevin, how about you? You were out on the lawn, correct?
Yes. I'll give you a pro tip about Merriweather. Go all the way stage right, and there's bathrooms, and there'll be long line for the men's room, nothing for the women's room. But on the back side of the building are two family bathrooms that there's never any line for. There's 2 or 3 people. So there's your pro tip. I just stood there in the rain with everybody else and took a bad habit of smoking a cigarette with someone and drinking a Bud Light black cherry seltzer or some nastiness. It was great. I loved it. We had a friend of mine from Canada that I met on Twitter over quarantine, finally got out of Canada and got to come down and see his shows. So can't beat that.
Can't beat that. It's always so great to catch up and hang out with good old friends during set break. I mean, once again, thank Sunset Lake CBD for sponsoring this segment of the show. Let's jump in here to set 2. There's a lot to dive into on this set. We began with Haley's Comet, which went into Tweezer, which went into Wingsuit, back into Tweezer, into Birds of a Feather, Joy, Taste, What's the Use? And then we ended with a Howling into Say It To Me Santos before an encore of Show of Life, where we all got reflective and we all got sappy and loving and wanted to hug our friends because it just means so much before we're going into Loving Cup and Tweezer Prize closing out the weekend at Merriweather. Jonathan, from the couch, what did this second set sound like to you, and what were your big highlights? There we go.
Living on mute. It was a great set. I thought I had a good laugh for the benefit of the YouTube only first song fans who were watching the Haley's Comet and thinking, "Oh, here we go," and then blip, tweezer drops, and what a tweezer! And that is my highlight. This tweezer, really tweezer into wingsuit. It is amazing. There's like multiple very pleasant and wonderful jams in this tweezer. There's this one segment, I'm gonna say 14 minutes, but don't quote me. That sounds like, I think I sent you guys a text with an image of like an army of robots marching, and that's just kind of what it sounded like to me. It just great like synth sounds, but all very synchronized and very locked in, and then Trey tries to bring it back to tweezer, and I think he was the only one who wanted to go back to tweezer at first. They all followed him though, and then
they had
wingsuit.
to.
Well, it's Trey.
Yeah,
He
they didn't have a
followed Trey.
choice.
And
Jonathan,
then wingsuit, and gorgeous wingsuit.
Before you go into the wingsuit, that what you were talking about in like the 14 minutes, there was like a tempo battle.
Yeah.
There was like, and I couldn't tell, like I said to you guys earlier, it looked from where I was like everyone was confused about what was happening, but it like worked out. But it was like, I think Trey was like speeding it up to try to keep up with Fishman, and then Mike was like, I better speed up too. And then suddenly it's like a huge full band. Everyone's like playing as fast as they can, and then they kind of slowed back down. But like that part was really strange.
It's intense, really intense, and just top quality stuff. And that is what I'm here for.
It reminded me of that segment of the Nashville 2018 Ghost, which just sounds like Trey and Mike are in this battle over like what direction we're going in, but it's like a good battle. It's kind of like they're just like one-upping each other back and forth, and it felt as though the band was kind of like exploring new terrain, also kind of confused, also trying to figure out like where everyone's going, but it like all somehow worked in a really demented way that I really enjoyed.
Demented is a good word.
Some of my favorite jams seem to be in the demented zone. I really liked that Set Your Soul Free from Bethel for a very, very similar reason. RJ, you were at this show, as we've discussed. You're in the pit. Tell me what your thoughts were on set 2 and what your highlight was.
Yeah, I mean, I think when the Haleys were my, I guess, second Haleys and second tweezer in like 10 days or something, which is pretty awesome. I think once the Haley, it was clear that the Haleys wasn't going to like go into that other gear, like it sort of like it did at the Man. So I don't know, kind of just like knew tweezer was coming, and everyone was ready. And it was great. It's the best. It's the best thing that can happen at a show, in my opinion. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. I love the wingsuit landing is great. We've talked about this a bunch. Like I like the landing from a big jam. I mean, I love the Lonely Trip new kind of like placement of a breather, like taking the place of a Life Boy or something like that. But the wingsuit was a good call. And then back into tweezer. I kind of thought we were going to they were going to keep doing it, but I think it's actually better that it wasn't just like every song was focused on going back into tweezer. So I don't know. I think the rest of the set worked, I do think Saturday and Sunday, just real quick, Saturday and Sunday, both like the last quarter of the show was sort of like a little bit like they didn't really go to like a big place either night. I was kind of expecting a hood last night or You Enjoy Myself or something. And I don't know, that was just sort of interesting. I'm not sure if you guys agree, Kevin. I saw you nodding, but I don't know if you
I
don't know.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you that it seemed like the last quarter of the show that they haven't figured that out. They figured out the whole first set. They figured out the first half of the second set. And then from Joy on, it was like kind of, back and forth. The Simple last night was 6 minutes. They bailed on it, And maybe it's Merriweather. I have this theory about Merriweather that it has such a hard 11 o'clock cutoff that Trey gets scared and cuts the set shorter. That's why you get those long encores sometimes.
It's an interesting point. That like he's almost thinking about the curfew's coming, so let's not get too deep. Let's like keep moving until we're done.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree on the fourth quarter thing. It was just a lot of songs, and the Simple, like I love Simple, as RJ knows, it's one of my favorite songs, and I was like, yes, like here we go. Like it'd be RJ, could you send Trey a message? Tell him it's fine if they just played Simple and just like close that set with Simple.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I'll put it in the mail today.
Perfect. The telegram. Send a telegram.
They'll get there before Dick's. We know that. Right?
Last night, I'm not really sure what it could have been. I mean, I guess What's the Use was the sort of big thing, which I'm not the. What's the Use is fine. You know, I don't like revere it. I know. I'm sorry, Megan. I don't revere it as much as some people do. I think probably because they play it more. You know, I think when they played it less.
Totally.
Yeah, it's coming back a lot more now.
Yeah, but everyone that I was, including he would has actually seat 19, I think, including seat 19. Everybody was seats 19 and 20, but like they thought they had 19 through 24, but they actually just had 19 and 20. That must have been a shock to them when they showed up. But everyone was like into Howling. So I got some good howls in. So I think that sort of started in Delfest when Trey played there in like 2013 or something like that. So there's a Sand at Delfest, which that was right by where I used to live. So I always went to Delfest, especially when Trey played. Super chill festival. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of bluegrass, but it's super chill. But everybody started howling. It was a full moon that night. And during like a Sand or something like that, everyone started howling. And then they did it at the Gorge that year too, I think. And
Zero, I think.
You know, that it happened at Delfest or something. So I sort of think that's where that whole howling thing came from. So I'm not usually a howler or a wooer or anything like that. But last night I let myself be a howler. So
yes.
Yeah. So that was good. And Santos is always fun. As you know, I know you have that story of seeing it when it debuted with your dad. It's, you know, you can't not like it, right? It's a very powerful rock song.
I think the points you're making overall, though, like I was thinking about this the last two nights, they're really prescient. And I think that, like, you know, the Raleigh show to me from home started a little bit slow, and there were some cool moments. I thought the Stash Steam was really cool, but it felt like they were kind of like just easing their way into the show. And then Rise starts, and I don't think anybody expected that song to jam. It just felt like, all right, we're getting another song midway through set one. We'll see what happens after this. And then that turns into this like blow everything out highlight. And the remainder of the Raleigh show, I thought flowed really well. I thought the second set was a complete package of music. Everything really made sense. Even song selections where I was like, I would have put a different song here. Upon re-listen, I was like, this is just one fluid, complete package. The opposite of that seemed to happen in Merriweather, where both first sets from the start were just events and were just moments. And they just, you texted us last night, RJ, like during Wave of Hope, that you are, and I'm going to quote you properly, you're not you don't think that Fish thinks intentionally about this, but you think that the Wave of Hope meant something. And I agree. I am the person who tries to think intentionally with all of this. I think that they came out with a ton of energy, brought it into both third quarters in the first part of the second set. For those who don't apply the sports analogy to this all, and that somewhere in there, maybe it's the curfew. Maybe it was just a sense of like, hey, we haven't played some of these songs. Let's just play this one. Okay, it's not going anywhere immediately. Let's play another one. Okay, it's not going anywhere immediately. And so you got a lot of like song to end the second set, which personally speaking is not my favorite way to listen to Fish. It usually results in me picking out a highlight, not listening to a complete set. I'd rather listen to a complete set. For me, it was right around when Birds went into Joy. That Birds, they smacked into Birds so aggressively, and you could see Trey. I don't know if you guys caught it in the venue, but he turned around to Fishman and gave him a fist bump. Like, we nailed that. Like that transition from Tweezer to Birds, and then Birds, it's like just shy of 10 minutes. It's got some really cool moments where it's about to take off and it's kind of getting exploratory. And when they went into Joy, it's then like either you make the right song call and we end the set with one big song like a Hood or like a Yem, or you're kind of searching with Taste. What's the use? Starts to feel a little bit like we know where this set is going, even though I think like at this point in time, they love that magic trick of being able to bring that song down to silence in all these different venues. And I don't think they'd played it in that manner in MPP and at all since they really started bringing it down to complete silence. So that's got to be really fun for them. But then Howling Santos, you're just, it's a rock, like, you know, it's like a 70s arena rock moment where there's not a ton of significance. It's just really fun.
I don't know why, but I think, sorry, RJ, I think this set really hit me hard at home listening back. I think it was because this tweezer into Wingsuit is so beautiful. I mean, the middle section of this tweezer is like a composed song. It's really sweeping. It's like cinematic. And then like you all were saying, it ends in this like evil video game laser synths and these like really crunchy sounds that I've never heard them play before. And then into this absolutely just stunning Wingsuit, which I don't know if I'm just like tired from my week at Fish Tour and feeling like really like blissed out and full of gratitude, but I was really just struck by how incredible the music can be from this band and just feeling like parts of this set were just really inspired. And I thought it was beautiful. I love the end of the set. I thought, what's the use into the Howling? What's the use? One of my favorite all-time songs by Fish. And the Howling is my favorite Sci-Fi Soldier song. It's just, it fucking rocks. That song is so much fun to dance to. Like if you like to dance, that song is made for you. And then Santos is like the best set closer. It's so triumphant and arena rockish. And I liked it. I see what you're saying, but I thought, I don't know why. I just really love this whole set.
It's the beauty of this all is that nobody is right. Everybody is wrong, but everybody is right and everybody's wrong all the time.
I think Kevin's onto something with the curfew thing. Cause like I told you guys, I had to drive home after the show and I left during the Howling and I was not smart. I mean, I had to do it because I had to drive 2 hours, but I also got lost on my way back to the parking garage completely sober. I went to the wrong parking garage and I was like,
oh God,
fuck, this is the wrong garage. And then I was like walking and I'm like, if everyone else beats me out of here, I'm gonna be
so mad.
really mad. But I was expecting like a Hood or you enjoy myself or something. But I guess the reason I brought up leaving early is like because I kept looking at the clock too, you know, and like if you know that you're up against something, maybe it changes the calculus a little bit in terms of what songs you choose, you know.
Trey knows that drive across the Appalachian Mountains is not going to be easy for the crew, and it's a tough drive through Pennsylvania. It's a lot of Pennsylvania with some mountainside rest stops. I've done that drive many times, and then you get into Ohio, and that's a whole different story. But we won't go there because we have a native Ohioan here. Kevin, any big highlights for you? Any last thoughts about set 2?
I thought the Howling Santos was fun. I'm with Megan. I like the big arena rock. I have no issue with that. And I'm just wondering when people howling is going to face a backlash like wooing has, which I see happening somewhere down the line. There'll be no howling groups. But yeah, I mean, I really have no complaints. It is just the stops and starts, though. It is my whole thing with it. I want them to play, you know, the whole time. Don't stop. Find your way into each song. Even if it's awkward, find it. Try to make it happen.
Yeah, rather than like a song starts, a song finishes, like just like have constant segues.
Yeah, and I think it's easy in retrospect, right? So like at the time, like I'm howling. I would say, Kevin, Trey was encouraging the howling, right? Did you like? Trey was definitely like,
he loves it. He loves it. Oh, I'm pro.
He loves the woos
I am
too.
pro woo. So
yeah. That's what gets me about all this stuff, right? Like, other than what I said earlier, like, don't be an asshole to people, but like, it's a rock concert. Like, you can yell, you can like, it's not a concert recital. It's not like concert pianists like Beethoven, right? Like, we can howl, we can woo, we can do whatever. Just be nice to everyone around you while you're doing that. But I think it's also, so for me, like, and RJ and I talk about this a lot, like in the moment, I'm just like in the moment, right? Like I had fantastic seats last night, like dead center. I didn't take many pictures or anything like that because I was like, just enjoy this. Like your phone can't capture like how awesome. Like the light show, which we haven't mentioned, is just so phenomenal. It's so cool to be up there. I mentioned on one of Megan's Instagrams, like they do this thing that I call the Millennium Falcon. That really looks to me like you're in the Millennium Falcon with Han and Chewie and Luke, and going into hyperspace. And it's like if you 6-year-old me, this would have been the coolest thing I could have ever thought of as 6-year-old in this video game. So in the moment, all that stuff is so fun, right? They're all rockers, like Kevin's saying. They're all like these 70s rockers. And then you go back and like look and you're like, oh, they could have done Hood here or whatever, which like, of course they could. But I think that this is also part of the experimentation that has sets starting with Sand First Tube is also trying not to lean on like, okay, it's Hood here. Okay, it's Jem here. Okay, again.
That's a really good point.
I agree.
Like not the paint by numbers. So we'll see where they get exactly. But yeah, for me, the way I perceive shows and the way I do all this is like Bethel 1, if you look back at it, that's just like a song fest, right? It's just song. Fucking loved it at the time because I love all those songs, right? So like I just like I don't know what seat I was in then. I had super cool neighbors in Bethel. That was like my neighbors in Bethel. That's not true. We had a yip yip look behind us. We called them yip yip look. Also, don't do this. So like it wasn't just like wooing. Of course, I said like you can woo, but it was like things would happen. They peek at Jen, like I was like, bro, nobody paid $100 to hear you do that. Like very impressive. Maybe like go to an open mic and like show everybody how you can yip yip. But like I would prefer that you not do that right now. But again, I let it pass. Like if you're at a show, like things like that are gonna happen. You have to just deal with it and let it pass. But yeah, I think at the time, right, like we can be like, oh, why did Trey play Santos? Or like why did Trey play Zero? Well, Trey played Zero or Santos because all of a sudden 20,000 people were jumping up and down, going like this, right? And so I think they're playing around with that, and I really enjoyed it at the time. I guess we'll see where it leads, but it's definitely non-traditional. I'll stop right now, I promise. But 40 years in, not just playing M right there, or not just playing Hood right there, and being like, oh, we're gonna do this thing where we howl and like talk about this like fake, and then like a song from like a fake band we made up. Like that's why we like this band, right? That 40 years in, they're still doing stuff like that. So. Again, as with Maul, and as with like, hopefully Mike hits another home run as he keeps trying after Maul, I think they're still searching, which is why I like it.
I think that point about them not leaning on the typical song selection is a really, really good one. And I think it's something to keep in mind. Like that was to me the biggest appeal to fall 2021. Like I saw Slave to the Traffic Light in the first set twice in a row. And I was like, this is not a mid first set song. What is it doing here? This is amazing. It was the coolest thing. It changed your perspective on the show. And I think they're still doing that. Like you could very easily throw a Hood every 4 or 5 shows to end set 2. And everyone who's in the venue and everyone who's watching at home gets that like bubbly feeling of, oh my God, it's all good. Everything's good. But like they've been doing that for 30 plus years, and it's time. I was thinking about it last night, like how interesting it has to be to bring someone to a Fish show who saw Fish like in the 90s and bring them to a Fish show today if they've like not kept up with the evolution of the band, because you're really walking into a totally different band.
It's a different band. It's a different band.
Totally different. And it's the conversations around like most classic rock acts is, why are you playing your new songs when I see you live? I want to hear your hits from the 1970s and 1980s. And Fish playing Tweezer is like really them playing a hit song, but so many of the highlights from last night and from so much of this tour come from songs that were written in the last 4 years, when the band would be understandable for choosing to just put it in cruise control and just let everyone pay their $100 to come and see them and have a good time. We're just going to give you the same type of show we've given you over the last 30 years. They're like trying new things that succeed sometimes in a really cool way. Rise Come Together jamming at the end of the first set in Raleigh, and sometimes don't work out as well. Pick your moment that didn't appeal to you. That constant journey towards what is next for this band is what always defines them and is what keeps us all coming back, I think.
So I agree, Brian. And I actually did that on Saturday. I brought a friend who his last show was Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like amazing guy, RJ met him. He's a very, very good friend of mine. You would not peg him as a Fish fan. He did not wear a cardigan to the Fish concert, but he did wear a polo shirt. I thought there was a 50-50 chance of a cardigan, but he's just that kind of guy. A fantastic guy, a really good piano player. And he was just like 3 songs in, he was like, okay, I got my money's worth. Like, I'm like, I'm
That's
good.
it.
Yeah, but it's that kind of thing. Yeah, they've definitely evolved.
They have, and they keep doing it. They keep challenging us. It's awesome. Patrick, Kevin, any last thoughts that you guys have on the show here from Merriweather, where the band is at in this summer tour?
Can I just say that Mike was evil on the Tweezer reprise? He dropped these couple bass notes that vibrated the whole building, the whole venue.
His farts are really potent these days. He's really that's those deep like synth the deep synth things I think are he's really got it working, because I think he was struggling with that. I think he put it on like his Instagram. I think he was on social media like, I just can't get the bass to quite sound right. I think maybe last summer tour. And I think he's really
sounded noticeably louder all tour, which has been really cool.
He's really dialed it in. Yeah, I agree. My parting thought is just please stay out of seat 18. That one's mine. You can go into any of the other ones. Just please. I'd just like to be in seat 18. That's all.
I love it. You guys are so much fun to talk fish with. Thank you so much for coming on today. And please get some rest, especially ahead of flying to Florida tomorrow, Patrick. I hope that you're able to get cleansed in the Gulf of Mexico, and we will see you guys both a little bit further down the road.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for coming and taking care of us over the weekend on the Afterfish After Show.
Oh, dude, it was so much fun. Thank you guys for having me. We'll talk with you guys here soon.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right. RJ, any last thoughts that you have after hanging out in the Southeast this weekend and seeing some fish? We actually, we have to do one more thing. I just realized this. Patrick, we're going to bring you back on for this. Good. I'm so sorry. We have one more thing that we need to do.
Oh, good.
We cannot get away without doing it. So imagine, Kevin, I'm sorry that we left you here. We were not trying to get you away for this. So imagine it is the summer of 2027. What is the moment from this show that we're going to listen to? This segment is brought to us by our good friends over at Free. This is the lasting highlight of the show. Fans for Racial Equity seeks to build an anti-racist live music scene and promote liberation through racial equity in the world at large by activating the collective power of our community, by facilitating thoughtful engagement around race and its intersection with other issues. Free empowers fans to challenge discrimination and systemic oppression wherever they see it. To get involved in Free's education, outreach, and community partnership programs, sign up to volunteer. You can see it on the screen here at fansforracialequity.org, or you can share in the groove with Free during the at the free table, during the show. They're going to be at every venue throughout this summer. Patrick, holding with you here. What is the moment we're going back to in 5 years?
Well, my license plate says Tweezer, so I think I have to go with Tweezer. If I can, my extended answer I think would be Mull through Birds of a Feather. I think was all fantastic A+, but my pick 5 was Tweezer, and Tweezer reprise. So it's 3 for 5. But yeah, I think that the Tweezer was fantastic, and everything you all mentioned about it earlier. It's really interesting Tweezer. I can't wait to listen to it some more.
I love it. RJ, how about you? What is your lasting highlight of the show?
I think it's well, the moment. I wonder, we don't really have any parameters around the highlight, right? It can be anything.
Can be
any amount of time.
You can do whatever you want.
I mean, I just think the Tweezer into wingsuit back into Tweezer is just fantastic. I love the wingsuit placement, and the jam in Tweezer was great. This is definitely like every Tweezer that I've seen live in the past several years, pretty much everyone is awesome. So I'm going to go back to this one. Like I'll go back to the other, I don't know, 20 or something.
Yeah, for all the success that they're having jamming new songs, Tweezer is it's truly the reliable. I saw our good friend Mike Lowe PT on Twitter. When they started Tweezer, he just tweeted out, "Hello, old friend," and it's just this idea that
So
like, when
good.
that song emerges, you're just like, we're all here hanging out with Tweezer again. It somehow it just exists within the Fish repertoire as like the old reliable. Meg, what about you? What's your lasting highlight from this show?
Yeah, it's the tweezer suit. First one, and just gorgeous way to drop out of tweezer. Perfect.
The tweezer suit. I like that. It's like you're putting on a tweezer. I think I'm going with Mull just because I don't know how much further that song can go. I'd be really excited to hear them like come out and open up set 2 with that song. But if that is like the peak that we're going to get out of that song, it's we're in. It's going to provide some really awesome listening back. Awesome. Well, thank you all once again. We will be back Wednesday. We have a stacked lineup of people who are going to be hanging out with us to recap the Blossom and Pine Knob shows. Midwest Fish. It's my kind of fish. I know that they're from the Northeast. I know that they love playing out here in Denver, Colorado. I can't wait for that. But Midwest Fish, man, there's some great stuff from the Midwest. We'll be seeing them at Blossom as well as Pine Knob. We have a ton of people who are going to be on tap for that. So much so that I think we're going to have to do another episode at the end of this week. Stay tuned for more details around that. Thank you all for hanging with us. Keep tagging us and Passion House Coffee whenever you hear ocean songs. And we will be back tomorrow noon for the live show, which is going to announce our AC winners. So tune into that on Osiris Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll be back with this show on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to recap Blossom's single night show from the overall summer tour. Very, very excited about it. Thank you all for listening. Thanks all for your comments, for hanging with us. We'll see you all a little bit further down the road.
Congrats on staying married, everybody. Keep it up. Stay alive. Stay married.
Bye, everyone.